Well, we're finally doing it once again.
What are we doing?
Well, I'm not going to introduce myself, but I'm going to introduce you. This is JP Arencibia. This is one of my main guys. He's a retired. He doesn't like to say he's a former. Or you?
Yeah, I could. You say because you keep on saying that I'm a major leaguer. I'm not a major leaguer. I'm retired. I'm an analyst now. Media. The guys that I hated is who I am.
Dude, I'm telling you, Chad, and program director. He does an impression that is amazing. And if at the end of the podcast, I won't keep him long. He's busy. He just flew in from Miami, get a workout.
Allegiant too, by the way.
Was it Allegiant? Yeah. Did you do the zones like we had Spec on with?
Yeah, but I don't do that.
You're cool with that?
If I'm flying Allegiant, which is $40, I can't get upset. I can't get upset though. That's what I just get to a point where I'm like, dude, you're flying $40, and so I just wear it.
That's a good way. Do you
gotta wear it.
Do you think the guy on the couch would get upset?
Well, he doesn't fly Allegiant.
No,
he just said it.
No, he doesn't.
I don't fly Allegiant because you have not seen the studies on their planes.
Well, hey, I've made it here. Listen, if this is my last farewell podcast because I'm flying on Allegiant back to Miami to Fort Lauderdale, then you know what?
It's been a hell of a morning.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a
you
good ride.
You won at sprints. You pulled it out. You know, ice cold.
Yes, I'm ready to. I can go now. I went with the owner of the Browns.
You beat him every time.
He's only twice my age and a little bit more.
Yeah, he walks with a limp, but you still beat him.
Yeah.
So JP is a close friend of mine. He lived with me for a month, his first year training with me, and bought all in, and that's the only way it works. And why I came up with the podcast of the Woodgym, or all the guys are the same, all the girls are the same, everybody walks through the door, most of them type A personalities, trying to get better. Petrone people wake up thinking about getting better, going to bed thinking about getting better is a type A personality to me. That's why I came up with these podcasts, and I think I have guests for the next year, probably February 2020, and it's all people that have come through this gym. You know, we've done the Hoach Havers. We're going to do Brittany, Papa Hoaches next week. All the guys that are trying to get somewhere. So I always open it up with everybody that comes on. When did you know you were different?
I was always really, really good at being good at sports. So I knew as a young, like basketball, I was good. Football, I was good. Baseball, I was good. But where I really knew that I could make it as a profession was probably in high school when I started, having scouts around, and that's where I knew in high school was like, dude, I have a chance to actually get drafted out of high school and sign professionally out of high school. But, my favorite sport was football, and I played all three growing up, and I was a linebacker in high school, and I made all county. So I kind of was a decent in Dade County, good football.
That's in, for people who don't know, South Florida, Miami.
Yeah. Okay. And so I had to kind of come to the reality, though, like, okay, so I'm a 6'1" power forward. The NBA is probably not going to happen. I am a 6'1" linebacker. Could happen, except I run like molasses, so that's not going to happen in the NFL. And as a catcher, I could still run like molasses, and I hit the ball far. So it's probably where my best bet to make a career. But I played all three. And I would say kind of my sophomore, junior year is when I figured that I can be, do it professionally.
But am I hearing you correctly that your love, it's funny that when I ask that question, it's all over the board. Your first love was football.
Yeah.
Yes.
Friday nights, are you kidding me?
But what you're best in and what you analyzed and came up with is, I think all the best ones are realists, and they're very real with their talents, the ones that take it to the next level. So you figured out that I could play baseball at the next level.
Yeah, I wasn't a rocket scientist, it's pretty obvious. It was only baseball was my only professional route. When I visited Tennessee my junior year, actually, they asked me.
Did you only play baseball? When did you stop all three sports?
I played all the way through my senior year.
All the way through senior year.
Yeah, I had scouts telling me that I was an idiot about playing football my senior year, and I was like, listen, the last thing I'm going to do when I get older is regret that I didn't play high school football. So I think that I didn't get hurt because I wasn't scared to get hurt. I played like my hair was on fire, And I even remember my first game my senior year, I had a tackle and the guy kind of rolled up on my ankle, and the next day I couldn't really walk. My mom was super upset at me. She's like, you see, you know, you're ruining it, blah, blah, blah. You have this career, don't mess it up. And I said, listen, I don't care. I'm playing and I'm going to play hard, and whatever happens, happens. But at the end of the day, if it's meant to be, it's going to be. And so that's kind of the way I went about it. But I loved it. Football, like I said, when I came to Tennessee, they asked me, hey, do you want to do a dual visit with football and baseball? And I was like, let me go for baseball, and then I'll see what I think about when I get on the football field. But I walked on the football field, and like I said, I'm not a rocket scientist. And when the defensive backs were bigger than me, I decided to say, absolutely no chance. I already kind of had an idea, but I was like, okay, dude, the defensive backs are bigger than me, and the offensive linemen look like they can eat me, and that's the guy that I'm supposed to shed. No, thank you.
And, you know, for people that can't see him yet, we're working on YouTube to get all these up. This guy's chiseled. He looks great. Now, did you always, I know a little in bits of your childhood, dungaroos, dip-and-doos, what are those things? Did you always have this physique?
No, heck no, dude. I just got into this physique because I could actually train for this physique. First off, I was a fat Cuban kid that wore a T-shirt on the swimming pool and used to tell guys that it was because I didn't want to get sunburned, but it's because I was a fat kid in the pool.
What were those things you ate that you'd farly know about?
Dunkaroos, man.
Dunkaroos. Did anybody hear Dunkaroos?
When I got to Tennessee, I was 21% body fat, and they had told me you're gonna have to lose weight and eat vegetables, and I said, okay, cool. So like plantains and like onions and like, you know, all these things that I was, because I just ate rice and beans growing up, dude, and I didn't have money. Like, that was what we ate. And so they're like, no, you have to eat broccoli and greens, and I was like, no chance. But when I came in my freshman year, I was like I had just gotten drafted. I turned it down, and I came in as a prospect or whatever, but not a big prospect. And my biggest thing was, like, I guess maybe whatever the atypical attitude was, I'm going to do everything that I can to be a first-round pick when I get to, like, when I'm here for 3 years.
Did you get drafted out of high school or had the chance?
Yeah, I got drafted.
So you do like the Heltons and everybody, they get drafted, turn it down, go to
college. And so, but that was, so they said, hey, you got to eat you want to get in shape, you want to do all these different things, you got to eat broccoli, you got to eat all these things, you got to eat clean. So I went from 21% body fat in the fall to 13. Wow. By spring, and then I went from not being on the SEC Player of the Year, Freshman of the Year thing, any of those conversations, to going out there and winning it. And I think it was because of like the adjustments I was able to make, like physically and what I was eating. And I had to learn that here at Tennessee. Like now kids are training in high school, middle school. I never trained until I really got to university. They used to make fun of me because I could barely do a bench press with 25 pounds on each side. My freshman year
at UT. But you could rope and hit.
Yeah,
as a linebacker, you were aggressive. You'd come with everything, and then hitting a ball, you had some type of power, bat speed. How could you do that without the strength?
God given, I guess. I don't know. I've always hit the ball far. I mean, hand strength. Guys used to laugh at me, like when we would talk. Like that was the thing. I'd lift into bench press or whatever, and I'd be weak, all this stuff, and guys would be like, "Whoa, let's stand at home plate, dude." Let's stand at home plate. Let's see who hits a ball farther. Because at the end of the day, and this is what you learn, you've been in clubhouses before. You've seen some of these guys. Like, there's some soft bodies that are insanely good. Mm-hmm. Like, that are talented through the roof. Mm-hmm. And they might not come in here and lift more than anybody. But when you put them on a field, they're a lot better than the guy that looks like a god. We
had a discussion yesterday in the Woodgym about that, and we go back and forth. And if you asked everybody, the panel that's in this office right now, they'd come up with, everybody would have a different answer. What do you think the theory is behind looking like Jane and performing like Tarzan?
I mean, at the end of the day, the way I've always looked about it.
How did you hit the ball so far when you couldn't bench press to 95 pounds?
If you're asking me what I think it is, it's grip strength. I think in baseball, I used to play all the grip strengths we used to do. Texas Rangers, right? I remember looking at the grip strengths. Best grip strength, Prince Fielder. Other one, Adrian Beltre. Other one, Alex Rios. And then
pretty
I
good.
was up there. All those guys are power hitters.
Yes.
Right? All those guys, everywhere I've ever been, grip strength was key to power. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I've seen correlated. Whoever had the best grip strength usually had the best power. And I had good grip strength, but I couldn't do chest, but does that matter in baseball? But at the end of the day, my point is like, I don't get paid to look good or to be strong in the weight room. I got paid to hit a baseball, throw a baseball. And I think sometimes too many people get caught up on what society thinks that they need to look like or what society thinks that they need to be, as opposed to, dude, what makes me the best player for the sport that I'm doing? And it's very easy to get caught up in the, I mean, I used to look at Eric Berry walk around and I was like, this is the dude that everybody at Tennessee, when I come back, I'm like, this is the guy that people are talking about. And dude, on the field, this guy was knocking dudes senseless. But he didn't look like some of the dudes but he was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just think that there's something to it. I don't buy in that you have to be this absolute animal in the weight room to be just like this awesome player. I think that's some guys are better on the field than they test in the weight room.
Now, did it help once you started adapting to the changes of your body? Could you feel more pop off the bat with the ball, or was it the same, or with the conditioning? How did the training help you? And we could progress right into your journey of UT and take me through. Was training one of the big things that you always did? Was it off season? I mean, I know when you came here, you were all in. I mean, you went mountain bike, you went Olympic lifting, you went Olympic shoes. You're the type A guy. You bought the Vitamix. You were doing gluten free when I didn't even know what the hell it was. I mean, I remember Blaze Pizza. You're still doing gluten. How does that mindset work, and how does it benefit you, and how does it not benefit you? Is it where you always, again, I feel like I know you pretty well, and I would say, if anything, with JP, your talent is unbelievable. And I think from your grip strength to your long levers create bat speed that probably is off the hook, because he has some long arms and he should be in boxing. And that's another thing that we love about each other's. We could talk those inside ring sports is you could do so much.
Well, here's what I think, right? I think at the end of the day, I worked so hard in the gym, but I didn't work enough on my mental side.
Agreed.
Because that's what at the end of the day for me separated the best players and then good players, right? AAA to the big leagues is really not far off at all talent wise. The difference is in between the years. And that's one thing that I would have given a little bit more respect earlier.
So you were studied at UT as a catcher? See, I don't know much about your collegiate.
I never really struggled. I mean, I got here SEC freshman of the year, All-American, and then my junior year, I mean, I was All-American, my USA team both summers. I won the MVP of the World Games that we won gold medal in. I killed it, and then I went in the first round, and then
who'd you go with?
Toronto Blue Jays, and then my first year in pro ball, I hit 300 with 27 homers and 105 RBIs. And I mean, went to the fall league, did well. Next year, AAA, struggled a little bit, but not a ton. Next year, went back to AAA, won the MVP of the league, and then was in the big leagues. And I didn't start really struggling until my third full year in the big leagues, and that's when I was like, oh, crap.
So it took you 3.5 years to get to the bigs?
2.5.
2.5. And
that's quick.
That's really quick.
Yeah, but I put up numbers though. And then when I got there, but my whole point of that is not that all good I did and all that stuff. I didn't put into the stock of mentality. Mm-hmm. And as hard as I worked in the gym, I should have worked on what was in between my ears that much harder. And I think again, that's why I think there's so many guys that what stands out the difference between them is not the physical ability, is what is in between their ears. And I know football might be a little different in some of these physical sports, but at least in baseball, David Eckstein doesn't become the World Series MVP with not being a freaking rock star in between his ears, because that guy had no arm, no power. He looked like he was not even a player, and he won the MVP of the World Series. And Dustin Pedroia, same thing. A lot of these guys, that's the biggest thing for me, like when I tell guys is, dude, you have to just like really believe it, but truly believe it. Like buy in and understand. And that's why I think also some of the best players are full of shit because they're literally so lost in their own. Like, for example, how I can explain it is the guy breaks a bat, he gets fisted, or the ball gets really jammed in his hands. Like,
what do you mean fisted?
Like if that means that if you're swinging, the ball gets jammed, like it's really close to your hands, and your bat breaks, right? Not the other fist. And those guys that were so good would come into the dugout and be like, dude, I just missed that pitch. And I'm thinking, dude, you just blew up your bat in 10 pieces. You didn't even come close to that pitch. But in their head, they're so locked in on what they do and they're so confident in what they do that they don't make the adjustment, and they go out there and they believe in themselves day in and day out. They don't make the adjustments, so they're very, very consistent over a season. Where people like myself, I break my bat, I come in, I'm like, dude, you gotta get there quicker, you gotta make adjustments, you gotta change. And so the consistency is up and down, up and down, up and down, because what's going on in between my head, I'm not truly bought into what I'm doing. And that's the difference between why I'm retired. I retired after being 31, as opposed to these guys that continue on playing. So my answer to like bring it all together is, yeah, I was bought in on. I was 100% bought in on training hard and doing everything that I could do. But I don't think that's the end all, because if that was the case, then I would still be playing and I would have had unbelievable years because of the work I put in the weight room. I think it's the combination of training hard, training smart, but also understanding, dude, that what makes guys unbelievable is what's in between their ears. And so how can I maximize that as well?
Yeah, no, these are great points, and I love the raw honesty. I mean, that's nice that you could I wouldn't say self-deprecate yourself. I don't say you're putting yourself down, but again, you're a realist with, hey, I'm not going to play at UT at football. I'm not going to do this. The thing between your ears, and, you know, Speck's on the couch now, and he was a 1A football player and working with the best of the best. Where does the mental approach, because, you know, 28 years doing what I'm doing, I've seen some savages with their mental approach. Like, I would not go up against that guy, and I've seen my guys like a Harrison Smith come in. His mental approach is so relaxed, and he so gets it. And it's, if you listen to his podcast, it's like, wow, I just listened to a pro talk about his mental approach. I think a lot stems from childhood, your upbringing, you know, whether it's positive reinforcement or constantly getting beat down. Can you change that? I know I'm studying grit right now, and we could change grit, but can you remember? I don't want the most talented. I want the best.
Yeah.
So can you change the mental approach?
I think a coach once told me, and I believe with him. I believe what he had to say to an extent. He's like, once the innocence is gone, it's gone. And what I mean by that is, early in my career, I didn't care. I went out there, I smashed. If I went 0 for 4, I didn't care. I went out and drank and had fun, because I never really struggled. Then I started struggling, and once I started struggling, that innocence of the happy-go-lucky, not going to worry, just go out there, was gone. Because then I started doubting myself, and then, all right, now I'd go good for a month and a half, but as soon as I started to struggle, it would take my head right back into, oh crap, is this going to be another, scuffle for a while? Is it? So I understand that point. I understand of what he told me, because it's also your approach at the plate. Like, you can make adjustments, but you're always going to have that in the back of your head. That's why I think also being vulnerable is huge, because for my 3 years that I struggled and I had anxiety and all these different things, I didn't want to talk about it, because I was like, all right, dude, if I talk to my team psychiatrist or whatever he is, then now I look soft, and is he going to tell the front office, or is this or that, and I'm not going to talk about it because then I don't want to, because I was always taught like, hey, dude, suck it up, keep on going, put your head down, and it'll eventually change. But shit, for 3 years it didn't change, and I was trying, dude. And then eventually I started talking about it, and then players started kind of reaching out to me, going, dude, I deal with it too. And I started realizing like, oh crap, dude, it freed me up, and that's when I did really good with Tampa again, is because I was having fun competing again and not scared to fail. And I think that's things that you can learn. You can learn to be okay with like failure and not to have that fear of failure, because that's what crippled my career. Was I was so good, then I struggled, and then I literally started being scared of, like, if there was a pitcher that I was going to face the next day, I was like, oh shit, I might strike out 3 times. But for 3 years I went through that. And then in Tampa, the reason why I did so well is because now I'm facing Jose Fernandez, and I was fired up because I got to compete against him pitch for pitch. It was like mano a mano. And that's why I did good, because I was enjoying that part of it again. So I do think that there is opportunities to get past that stuff, but I think you have to be real with yourself and talk about it and get out there and like learn about it. Anxiety, I learned about anxiety and what it does and why it happens, and it helped me out. And that's what I think guys need to dial into, really learning, and not be the macho like, oh man, I don't deal with that shit. Like, no, we all do, and we all have doubts, and all the best players have doubts. It's just the ones, how do they deal with it?
Well, don't you find, again, these podcasts have opened me up to like studying. Every time I mountain bike, power walk. Yeah, I power walk at 50. It's cool. I walk dogs through Getty's View. Everybody beeps at me. Isn't that the guy? Yeah, I'm power walking. Helton power walked with me with a pink leash and 2 Australian miniature shepherds. We didn't feel like a gay couple at all. Can I say gay now in 2019?
I don't know.
I do like your realism, and I know I like where we're going with this. I had another script, but adapt and adjust, because I like the mind games. I like the mindset. And when we talk about fear, if you think about the other side of fear, there is no other side. There's nothing worse than fear. So you should embrace it instead of going, they don't want to be, like, oh, I'm not scared. We talk about the combine all the time when the athletes in the kitchen, when they live with me and they're like, hey, are you nervous? Like, no, I don't get nervous. Every NFL combine guy shits the bed because they don't embrace the nervousness or the fear, correct?
But I think it comes with being vulnerable. You have to be able to be vulnerable to like open up and go like, hey, dude, like, yeah, I'm scared. Dude, Mike Tyson used to get scared.
So scared. He'd cry before he got into the ring.
So, yeah. and you know what, but here's the thing though, and this is something that one guy told me one time was, everybody, you watch ESPN, all you watch is the highlights, right? Mm-hmm. You watch the guy hit the home run. You watch the guy. You didn't see the guy swing at the first 2 pitches that were in the dirt and look like an absolute idiot. You just see it. So we're so wired on just seeing like all the good stuff. But here's one thing that it was a quote that I read, and that really I was like, dude, this is sick, because it kind of like strips it down in the sense of, so Steve Jobs out there, right? He said, remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the biggest choices in life, because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure. And that's what got me, because at the end of the day, the reason I was scared to fail, okay, so fear of failure, and I was scared of embarrassment because we all have our egos and pride, right? And that's the thing, all pride, right? So if I wasn't so worried about all that other bullshit and just concentrating on the task at hand, I would have been the opportunity, all the ability that has gotten given, I would have been able to take advantage of. But you're worried about striking out and looking like an idiot in front of the crowd, and you're worried about all this shit. So, all right, so it continues. It says, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you're going to die is the best way I know how to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You're already naked. There's no reason there's no reason not to follow your heart. And I was like, damn, dude, that would have been huge in my career, because what got me was the embarrassment part, right? Like, I didn't want to go out to dinner because I felt like fans would look at me. And then I wore that into the field, and we're so prideful. And it's like, dude, at the end of the day, like, get over yourself, one, and two, like, it's true. Like, we worry and worry and worry, and it's not just in sports, it's in business life, all these different things. It's like, I tell people is, like, we worry about stuff that never happens. And biblically it talks about it, don't fret about tomorrow. Tonight has enough of its own troubles, all these different things. But it's like, for example, business-wise, people get so worried, my boss wants to see me. And you play 7,000 different scenarios in your head, and you get there and the dude's like, hey, man, you're doing a great job. Just want to tell you that. And you just wasted a shit ton of time on something that had zero to do with what happened. But I did that as a player.
Well, that's in Matthew also, like the worry of like Steve Nash was saying, he always wants to pick people. He's a consultant with Golden State Warriors, and they talk about exactly how you are now, not when you lived with me and trained. Take your business seriously, not yourself. Self-deprecation people that make fun of themselves and laugh at themselves are always the best at whatever they do. And the other people that inflated insecurity, because he says, and it's the same thing, everyone here, if you could laugh at yourself, not constantly put yourself down, but go, yeah, you're right, Spec, I screwed up on the appointment sheets, or yeah, this is, they're always willing to get better. It's the people that are insecure that can never do that. And you have changed dramatically, and I meant to tell you this, and I hope I did last time you came in. We're training, a couple months, pretty serious, is you could see when you lived with me, you were wound so tight. And it's almost like I couldn't be myself with you, a real Charlie, just giving it to you because I didn't know what I'd get back from you because of your headspace. Now it's that subtle art of not giving a fuck. It's like, it works all the time on the mountain bike rides. Every time we don't time it, everybody has the best ride. And I go, man, I flowed. Or every time Chad's not thinking about a 40, don't think about it. Just run, and you are so different now. And I know I always tease by going, dude, if you went back to the big leagues now and just went up there and was like, there's the pressure that you put on yourself of not failing where you're going to fail. Like what Helton said when the rookies come up, and you've seen this, when the guy throws his bat in and goes 0 for 4 and he's like, hey, you're going to strike out more and you're going to hit, get used to it. What?
But here's another thing too, is right. And I a lot of it is baseball because I don't know, but I can't even tell why Latin guys, there's so many Latin guys in the major leagues and why they're such good players, right? And I had this conversation with somebody is, think about it, right? Those guys are just playing to get off the island, right? So they don't, in the U.S., right? You're getting ranked at 8 years old, 9 years old. I know what my stats are.
What's up with all the velo and all this stuff I hear? What is all that?
But they get all this information, right? So you grow up, I'm hitting 320. I'm the number 7 ranked prospect in the 2037 class, right? All this BS, right? But then in the DR and Venezuela, these guys, they don't care about rankings. Dude, I need to hit that round ball, and I need to make sure I hit it consistently so I can get the hell out of here and make some money, right? But then they get the pro ball, right? And then they're the ones, some guys, teammates, people get pissed off at them and are like, oh, they just don't care. No, it's that they know how to separate, as opposed to they go have a bad game, like, who cares, dude? Let's do it again tomorrow. Who cares? But the other guys, the analytical guys like myself, you grow up now it's even worse. You grow up in this stuff, you're 0 for 4. Oh, man, my batting average went down to 257. Oh, my gosh, is it going to continue? We're so wired that way that it's like, that's when I started realizing how ignorance is bliss and all these different things, like how they made sense is like, no, those guys just were able to have the whereabouts because of the way they grew up to go like, dude, F it. Tomorrow's another day. It's good, but I'm not going to go and fret about it. But we, parents, all this, everyone's ranked. Hey, what's your son ranked? Oh, well, my son's the 12th. He's got 7 visits. Well, who the F cares about his 7 visits? But these buy into this, and then it affects people growing up. And that's why I think sometimes where it's like, I just wish that it was like, hey, dude, how can we simplify this thing? And let's teach guys like, okay, how do I get past if I fail? Or, hey, you swung and missed and you look like an idiot and people laughed at you. How does it make you feel? Oh, I'm embarrassed. Who cares? Why are you embarrassed? Because is this making your life No, this doesn't have an outcome in your life. So get back up and take another swing. And that's the guys that they go from, okay, I suck, to now they're good because they didn't let – it all comes down to living in the moment because they didn't let that swing that they fell down and they were embarrassed affect the next pitch. And the guys that can do that the best, which it's super hard, right? Listen, I still struggle with it. If you live in the moment and you can do that while you're playing a sport, you're going to be a badass. It's the truth. You're going to be freaking good because you're 100% focused on it. And you're not worried about that this guy just burned me on this play. No, all right, let's go next play. Or this guy just made me look like an idiot on a breaking ball. No, next pitch. I'm 100%. What do I have to worry about this other thing? Or what am I going to worry about? Oh, crap, I'm 0-2. If I strike out, are the crowd going to boo me? That's what I used to think. Like, oh, shit, I'm 0-2. And I could hear the guy going, you suck. Like, shit, if I strike out, they're going to boo me. How am I supposed to compete at the highest level when that's what I'm worried about? But that's what we do. Pride and ego.
So your age, are you 32? 33.
Yeah, old as hell.
33 years old. So you're 33. Where are you now? I mean, you seem like you're relaxed. I mean, it's all off. All the pressure's off. You know, like you were even saying, like when you came here to train, you bought in, and when you bought in, it was like, let me get this.
Yeah,
here's the pathway to success. Now I got it all. And then, you know, I do like the way you referred back to the Tampa Bay because that's the only jersey you gave me and allowed up here is because that's
where I had fun competing again.
That's when you had fun competing again. So where are you now? Because I know you did some stuff up at UT, and it sounds like you're in a great mentor role of helping the guys. I know you're back in Miami. What's next? 2 parts. What's next for JP? After baseball, your body looks great. You're doing all this cross training. You're in some awesome UFCs and boxings, and you like everything you're doing. You're back in Miami. You're around your mom. You're around your family. Your sister, I know you're very close to. What's next? And have you found your way after baseball? Because that's the struggle I find with most of my athletes is they've been doing this all along, and they don't know they have a whole second life of a good life. I mean, you're 33. You can choose to do other recreation sports and compete in different things at the highest level. Now with the mindset that you've switched from pressure to I don't care anymore, what's next for JP? Because I know I didn't catch up with you in Miami. That's my bad. Now you're back here. We'll go to breakfast. We'll talk. Where do you go from here?
Well, that's where being vulnerable, right? Because at the end, if I was here a while ago, I'd say like, oh yeah, you know, I got all these plans. Life after baseball has been tough, dude. Like, it's not easy because you're used to being great at something and working to be great at that, right? Having that routine. And then you get into the real world and you're like, all right, I can do a ton of different things, but what do I really have the passion to do? What do I really have the drive to do every morning? Because I've also realized that chasing money is not it because I've met a lot of people that make over hundreds of millions of dollars and miserable. So where I'm at right now is I am doing pre- and post-game show for the Marlins on Fox Sports. I'm an ambassador still for the Toronto Blue Jays, so I do a lot of like charity events. I do just like season ticket holder events and do different corporate sponsors during the games. I go in the suites.
So we could watch you for the Marlins.
Yes, on Fox Sports.
That's
and then
cool.
I do a podcast actually with Yahoo Sports in Canada, just over the Blue Jays. It's just we just get a guest and all that stuff.
Right.
But I love it, right?
So you keep him busy.
Yeah, I'm keeping busy, but then at the end of the day, am I being fulfilled? And that's the tough part I battled myself is like, where can I be the most impactful on the world, right? Like,
well, the Rick Warren book, The Purpose of a Driven Life, you know, or is that what you're looking for, was searching for?
Well, that's, for me, the toughest thing is, right, like, the one thing I love is motivating people and helping people and saying things that I wish were said to me, right? And a lot of people are like, hey, dude, you would be an unbelievable manager. Mm-hmm. But then I'm like, yeah, I know that I would be an unbelievable manager, but am I willing to go through the whole bullshit of working your way up and all these different things? But then I step back sometimes and I go, well, how much more fulfilling is it impacting other people's lives? Because that's something as well that I love, because I feel like because of my experience of being really good and bad and all these different things is you can say I can really guide people, humans, which is at the end of the day, and I'm sure you know this, is like when you have somebody, and I saw this last year when I was doing it in Tennessee, but when you like want to help people, you truly don't care about like getting any kind of what's the word, like not publicity, but you don't really care of like the having to be like, oh yeah, I did this. When you work with guys and then they go and they make an adjustment and they do well,
makes you feel great,
and they have a smile like, oh crap, and then they go out there and have success. It's like, it's the coolest thing in the world, almost like tier worthy as much as like it's awesome, right? And so that's the one thing for me as far as,
well, I think you need to go into something like that, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I do think because you're the only athlete, Woodgym guy I've had on that's had ups and downs, where you went to the majors, then back down. So I think it's a better story that you could talk to people like, hey, I've been here and I've been here and I've been back to here and I've been back to here. A lot of these guys are like way up top, so they never experienced the struggles of going back and forth. So I think that's why, I'm captivated by listening to you. We haven't had the chance to sit down, of like the humbleness that you're coming across with is amazing, of going, hey, what did they say? There's two types of men, one that are humbled, ones that'll be humbled.
They'll be, yeah.
And it seems like that your story as, a manager or whatever at UT and doing your thing, I think you got some great gifts and great talents, bro.
We'll see. I hated the media, and now the reason why I like it is because I could speak at a different level. I think that I can inform people about how hard it is and talk about different things.
I even watch you in here with, the minor league guys that are coming up that you were working out with. And they were like, oh, JP's in here. And then the chance of, again, the Woodgym is my ministry, I believe. I'm a broken guy 100%, but I still believe that I like when a Chad Speck and an Emily and Zindulis, I always get her name wrong, forget about it. We just call her Emily Z. And JP get to go eat lunch. And hey, I couldn't make it. I had to do something, but they got together, and I text Chad last night, make sure you're in. JP's in. I love that guy, man. He's a really neat guy. That's what makes me feel good. I understand the facility fees, Chad. I like those too. But
yeah,
the feeling good of JP wanting to come in and call me uncle or pops, or, it's like, wow, I'm there. I'm getting chills telling you that. It's like 50, I'm there. Like, it's like for Harrison to come down for 2 days in Miami and goes, I just want to be with you. And I was like, wow, like he's watching him grow as a person of doing different things, and your journey of where I'm telling you, man, you were biting a bullet when you were like this. And I hope people
believe me. I know.
It was like, come on, Chaz, we're doing everything. You talk about forcing something to where now you remind me of water. You just flow.
Yeah, but you try, but there's adjustments, right? And there's things like that. But at the end of the day, it just becomes at the end. I feel like it's how can I help the next person? It's like that selflessness is like, how can I push? That's why I enjoyed coming in the morning, was I wanted to, like those young kids, I wanted to push them, right? Because I would have enjoyed if somebody would have done that for me. And so it's like treating others how you want to be treated. I think pushing.
Do you hear that, Spec?
Pushing others, right? Like that's
not yelling at me so much.
Well, hey, it's easy to yell at you. There's sometimes me and you have gotten after it a few times.
Oh my gosh, yeah, he does that. Tony and I talked about that. He has a little Brazilian temper in him, and you
Brazilian,
can see,
that's Jan. I'm Cuban, dude.
Cuban. I'm so sorry. Is there a difference?
Yeah, there's a difference. Yeah, I get fired. Honestly, that's something I've had to learn too, right? I get fired up.
No, dude, you get a switch going. He got a switch going in here over the winter. I was like, okay, whoever he's going after, we better warn him. You know what I'm talking about, Spec. He was going. It was on.
But that's, dude, it's life.
Yeah.
Right? And again, like if I were to tell you that, hey, I have all these answers. Listen, I've learned a lot about anxiety. I still get anxious, right? Mm-hmm. I've learned getting upset. I still get upset. But the difference is now I realize, like, dude, you can't be perfect, and you're not going to be perfect. Mm-hmm. So chill out. And that's the biggest thing. And that's what I try to talk to guys all the time. I still talk to a lot of players. That's what I try to tell them is like, hey, look, dude, why are you worried about all this crap? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, none of this shit matters. So why am I wasting my time worrying about it? Worry about the stuff that you can worry about. And it's so simple to say it now. When I was in it, I was like, well, easy for you to say. Mm-hmm. But it's like, fuck, man. Just concentrate at the task at hand.
Yeah.
And everybody would be fine. But it's easier.
You got to
said
go
than
through
done.
it to get to it, right? I get it.
So it is what it is. But I mean, that's why that's where I like where I'm at. When people are like, man, you should still be playing. Or, oh, I'm like, no, dude, I'm great. I had a great career. Now it's for me, how can I help the next person have? I played for 6 years in big leagues. How can I have the next guy play 10, 12? What can I do or have just not anxiety? Like, how can I have the next person? So just
didn't you have some kick-ass years with the Blue Jays?
Yeah, no, I had good years.
I mean, you were a big dude.
Yeah, dude, I led the league in home runs one year. Like, I had some good years, but it's at the end of the day, it's a business. And if you don't do well, you're gone. But I didn't have fun a lot of the times later in my career because I was so worried about failing. And I couldn't, when you're worried about failing, dude, you're effed. And I learned that in Olympic lifting. Yeah. I learned that in a lot of these different things. Yeah. Like, the brain is a powerful thing.
Yeah. And I think you've mastered a lot of the disciplines of the training and still were like, okay, where's my missing link? You know, and then the mind, I think you're in a beautiful space, man. And I really do. And I know, Chad, we were looking for some slapstick humor with his one-liners of Clubhouse, but I don't know if we could say half of them. But I've enjoyed sitting down and talking with you. And I know we got off on the mindset, but I loved it. I mean, you know, talking about the baseball career, he almost moved me in a different direction of, no, let's talk about my mindset. Let's talk about what life really is. And I think you're beautiful in and out now. You're a good looking dude. If I was swinging the bat the other way, I'm going to buy you breakfast and see where it goes from there. So JP, thank you. I can't wait to visit with you again. I'm sure I'll see you. I think you're probably in town for the football game, spring game. No,
yeah, I'm here for baseball, but I follow Tennessee, so I'll be here, but I'll be back and forth.
Will you be at the game?
I think I might. I'm not exactly sure.
Probably come visit us because Brian DeBus wants everybody to come up to his box.
All right,
with Dobbs and everybody wants to do something there, so you know how that goes. All right, I love you, man. Thanks for visiting. Thanks for visiting the Woodgym. You're awesome.
You're awesome.